Well, good morning, folks. I love doing this live. This is incredible. And, I've been busy with the petition, of course, work too. Went to bed early last night. I'm up. I'm at it. Could have used another 2 hours, but that's life. Pretty exciting. Our petition letter we submitted to the UNSC P5 went through, and there are a pile of March 12th revelations that have come from that. And I think that's a lot of the reason why Canada's proceeding in prosecution and persecution, really, against myself and close insiders around me, and looking for any reason to finish me off here. And it's silly, but what isn't silly and what is awesome is 6 days ago I presented a one-of-a-kind floating Russian oil analysis, and certainly it was accepted by the Trump administration on March 12th as they lifted all sanctions on that Russian oil for the next 30 days. I was the only one who did that analysis. There's no news, no nothing. It's all propaganda media, largely coming out of the UK, Europe, absolutely Canada, and all Commonwealth countries. But folks, the reality is at hand. That happened the day of our petition submission. The results were absolute. And if anybody wants to know, my good friend Jim Scherer, who's an American doctorate, does World Constitution Day. And while that's amazing, he also does World Nuclear Day. He's an expert in many things, physics, science, and other. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner and holder of a pretty prestigious invention. And that invention is the fact that he developed the technology to trace who created something on the internet first. And that's my analysis on the Russian floating oil, giving 10 days to 2 weeks to stop rising oil prices in their tracks, which they have. It will last 10 days to 2 weeks, as I said, and it gives a buffer for USA to open the Strait of Hormuz. And I think they're going to. Now, in earlier videos, as I said, Trump calls out all the allies, all the countries affected by that canal. And where are they? Where are they? Now, USA can open that themselves. They most certainly can do that. But this call out by Donald J. Trump is to put your mouth where, or put your actions to where your mouth is. It's a call out really for UK, France, Canada, and many others. And the reality is they're holding on to customary international law from the old world, not the allies of World War II, international binding law. They should all be there. They should all be participating as their UNSC votes are logged absolutely. Now, everybody, why does Mark Carney and Doug Ford and many others flip, flop, like windshield wiper blades? Because it's in the Constitutional Acts of Canada, 1867 to 1982, and every other multi-textual document in pre-Constitution, making up all this maquillage of what's called the highest laws of Canada, if you want to call it that. Because, folks, again, if you haven't read the constitutional acts of Canada, you're not really a country called Canada. You're not really Canadians. You're colonial subjects who have a parliamentary democracy, not your democracy. It's always been that way. That's found in those documents since the start to finish, in everything that laid out the foundation of your constitutional acts of Canada. Because you don't get those without adhering to the other multi-textual documents of the colony of Canada. And just so in case you thought it was really anything else, that you thought you had sovereignty, we don't. We've never had sovereignty in Canada. Provinces technically could pick that up. They could cement that for you, but they don't want to. None of them do. Certainly not Premier Doug Ford, not anybody. He lost in court on restricting free speech. He tried to flip-flop like a windshield wiper blade, and all these Canadians going, yeah, especially from Alberta. I got a real laugh out of that on Alberta News and Views. These people talk about independence, but really, what do you want to be independent from? Because you certainly don't want any sovereignty. That's clear. If you were cheering Doug Ford on, going, this is the Doug Ford we like, you might as well say, this is the follow UK and whatever they say, Doug Ford we like. Because I'll tell you, Al Could protest everybody was banned in the UK this year. Yeah, they have an appointed Senate too, called the House of Lords, and they have hereditary, where your birth title gives you a place in that Senate. House of Lords it's called. Hereditary. More than 1/4 of them are hereditary, meaning they were born in King's lineage, King's title. They get House of Lords seats. Not being smart, no merit based, it's all birth right. Canadians think that's great. Your lieutenant governors of every province, for all premiers, are almost all that way still today. You get people from all over the world with royal title lineage, from the radical Middle East to everywhere. I want to be clear here, folks. Toronto's Al Could protest, you want to call it that, it was 10 times the size of the one in New York. But, folks, do you know what that represents in the Iranian community in the Greater Toronto area? 1.4%. Meaning 98.6% of Canadian Iranians stand against Iran, its regime, its supreme leader, and all the radical Islam. Yeah. Do you know what is a sicker stat? And I just made a post about this, and post this video. I'm going to pull that on, put it in the link of this title, but you can go look at it yourself. 64% to 62% of Canadians, elbows up, are down with America, meaning you're 60 times more likely, it's about 50% more likely to see a Canadian radicalized than an Iranian. Not 50%. 50 times more likely to have a radical, lunatic, elbows up Canadian than you are an Iranian in Canada. And that was still 10 times the size of the protests in the United States, with 9 times less the population per capita. Think about that. That means in an Iranian community, we're 100 times more radical than the United States. And worse than that, we are 600 times more radical with Canadians, lunatic and radical, meaning parties combined, conservative, liberal. Canadians are 600 times more lunatic and radical than Americans. Oh yeah. No surprises, you have no sovereignty. Zero, zip, zilch, none whatsoever. When UK says, we're not going that way, Canada abandons all American reason, and your politicians quickly windshield wiper blade up or down to whatever UK says, because your constitutional acts of Canada. Just read the opening introduction. This country, this system will be modeled and created for the benefit and on the example of the United Kingdom. Yeah, your whole inception of your country since day one is for the betterment of the United Kingdom, to be stylized at the beck and call of whatever the United Kingdom does. Because you don't have a brain for yourself. You're a lesser subject, a colony of the empire. Yeah, a colony country. A colony country. Yeah, we got independence. We don't. And again, the most worst people in viewing today who are clapping, and the many thousands, Alberta News and Views, yes, separatists, yeah, Doug Ford, that's what we like to see. Do whatever the United Kingdom does and says. Don't think for yourself. Just do whatever UK tells you to do. Is that the independent Alberta we are going to be getting? If they were successful, which they're not going to be. Because the love and loyalty and the blind obedience of the slave of that British Empire that no longer exists. They're a joke. When you look at their GDP per capita and their 67 million people, all their radical immigration problems, the London skyline, what little model looks identical to that? In the exact same amount of private property. Oh yeah, the giant country known as Canada. Duh! Canucka! Me Canucka! And that's your average Canadian adult brain mentality. More than average, it's actually a clear majority now. Even clearly a majority of Alberta separatists is showcased today. And it's rampant right across Canada. Can't think for themselves, can't make decisions for themselves. Your parliamentarians flip-flop wiper blades to whatever that is. All your crown appointments match that hereditary title. People from all over the world who have no love for you Canadians, zip, zilch, or any loyalty or affectional love of you at all. Largely, they go abroad more time than they spend in Canada, but yet they hold the tremendous reins of power. They hold the power over all your courts. They hold the power over all your judges. They hold the power over all your legislatures, all your parliaments, and all your parliamentarians march. Yes, master! Give me money! Let me be a criminal! like you. Let me rape the Canadian people and the First Nations people. Yeah, it's that bad. That detrimental. And it's always been this way, but they are so out there now. So full force. So unstoppable, because the Canadian people fold like those Iranians over a non-visual, comatose, half blown up, missing a leg, Supreme Leader's son, who's finished. Can't even make a public address because he's probably not capable of. It's the regime, it's the military and police. Who would ever believe a leader's statement written with the picture of the leader up? No voice, no nothing. Do as I say, but you can't see me, can't hear me, can't do any of that. And you can see, at least in Iran, a vast majority of all the propaganda displays. You watch seats empty everywhere, couldn't even fill a stadium. It's a joke in Iran what the regime's trying to get away with. But the worst of the worst is BBC, European news, Commonwealth news, Canada news. The Iranian Supreme Leader speaks. Well, where did he speak? It's just a written out statement with a picture of him. It's not even his voice. And this is the propaganda pounded out by Canada, pounded out by UK, all the Commonwealth, pounded out by France, and absolutely the entire European Union. If you don't know what deep state is, and that you're knee deep in it here in Canada, you're probably the worst in the entire world. Next to maybe a country like Iran, was Venezuela, or a Cuba that's radically changing as I'm giving this video at an immeasurable pace, unprecedented pace, never known in any history of anyone alive today. This pace of movement is unreal, unbelievable under President Donald J. Trump. And all of them are saying it. Everyone in power, everyone in place is saying it. Yet the media marches on as hard as they can. And I love President Donald J. Trump. Americans aren't that stupid. And I want to close this video this morning before I get about my day, because I got a lot to do today, and there's no rest for the wicked. But I'll tell you this, as he says, the American people are smarter than that. He has great faith in them, and he's right to be that way. I see it on the feeds. Unfortunately, that's not the truth for Canadians. And because of that truth for Canadians, even in Canada, the 51st state, over and over, no, I don't want to hear about what I have to do. Donald J. Trump, do it for me. Americans, do it for me. That will not do. MAGA 51st state, Alberta 51st state, Our Page Canada, the 51st state. Work must be done. And I know how it is in Canada. There's the dozens of us versus the tens of thousands who sit on their fat ass. Do it for me. I'm an adult subject. I can't. I need a supreme leader to do it for me. Read my Constitution. I wait. I will eventually get a leader to do it for me. A divine person that will force all these things. That is Absolutely unreal. And these same people pay my mortgage for me, feed my family for me. You wouldn't do that. You know you gotta go to work. You know you have to do. You know to do that. Oh yeah, I gotta do all that. No one gonna do it for me, right? But yet when it comes to the political side, the country you live in, the country that's going downhill, I elect somebody to do it for me with zero accountability, zero rules of governance, or zero rules to see any of that done. There's no mechanism to force them to do anything. And you're all good with that. Like, no one make my employer pay if they don't want to. You wouldn't handle that at all. The average Canadian would never handle that. But yet that's exactly what you do with your governance. Somebody do it for me. And you don't know why you're like that. And if you ever want to know exactly what you're like, go watch the multitude of videos of all those Iranians in Iran who can't even fill up squares in the propaganda. You see a few huddled burqa-wearing families and women holding the picture of the supreme leader. Fake smiles. You know their husband was like, get your filthy ass out there, bitch, or I'll kill you. So they did, and they took the kids out there. But you can see clearly it's not even a minority. Empty seats everywhere. And then here's BBC News, CTV. It's early. People are going to get out there. We saw the Iranian protest just 2 weeks ago. 350,000. Couldn't even get 4,500 into the Al-Qud movement. That's 1.4% of the GTA's Iranian population. Meaning Canadians are more institutionalized, radical, and lunatic than the Iranian community. People try to share, and sure, in USA that's bad, that hundreds show up to protest, burning American flags, down with America, all these things. But honestly, with the amount of Iranian community in Canada, just the GTA, that's pittance. That means Canadians at large are more lunatic and radical than the Iranian community by large volumes. Large volumes. That's terrifying. It's terrifying. And if you think that there's a deal coming for Canada, you're sadly mistaken. Everybody else is getting all these things set up that sound really negative, but they come with trade deals. Mexico's on that list. Canada isn't. Canada doesn't want to restrict China. I don't know where everybody is right now, but did you see South America, Brazil? Did you see the overwhelming slave labor used in the Chinese EV plant built there? Did you see that report? The hundreds and hundreds of slaved Chinese working for that EV plant China state owned. What will it be like in Canada? We already know. I already did migrant farmers. I did that like nobody else. There's a lot of folks from local union 401. This brings me back to being a young man. I took it so far into the Boilermakers a good decade ago, and there was big presentations across Canada on it and that whole migrant system and what was happening. Well, that's entirely, absolutely what China does and has always done. All communist regimes do that. It's called forced labor. It's a staple of communism. It's a staple of how China grew its economy. no different than the Soviet Union. And when Canada gets in bed with that, you give up your tertiary industries, you hand them over to China, and then you rely only on primary at the lowest levels without real robust taxation or royalty rates on any of those raw resources that can't be replaced. When you mine gold out, when you mine diamonds out, Ontario, Quebec, that shit's gone forever. Everyone loves to point out west. And everyone loves, and I see even my followers, oh yeah, Canada Oil. USA needs Canada Oil. They have to take it. They've always been taking it. 3.5 million barrels a day. They've been taking it. You don't send your oil out on world stage. USA processes your oil and they send it out on the world stage because you're not capable of doing such, Canada. And USA pays you real royalty rates, much, much higher than all the other natural resource royalty rates of every other industry in Canada. Much, much higher, because that's an American-infused industry, and America pays fair. Nobody else does. That's why there's no royalties for Ontario, Quebec, BC, and on and on and on. They exploit the people. They add provincial sales tax. They add exorbitant carbon pricing schemes above and beyond. Alberta, Saskatchewan, Lower Manitoba are only enriched because America isn't a piece of shit. That's how they work worldwide, and people still run them down. But all of you lunatic fucks, radical fucks, and I have to say it that way, I'm far beyond with the United States of America now. I am in there. Anyone follow me? We're in there. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. But I can tell you this. There isn't going to be no trade deal. Not while Canada is undercutting USA, running USA down, and does not want equality of the person, does not want fair labor practices, does not want freedom of expression, freedom of speech, or civil and political rights they promised they would enshrine with the USA, central to all of their security treaties, absolutely NATO, NORAD, and beyond. Now, old Mark Carney, he's got all these deals, billions more beyond any record deficit ever heard of in any Canadian history. It's exploding well beyond, and he's milking all the corrupt crown, Indians out of the chief system of crown, corrupt Indians, as corrupt as all the parliamentarians. All across the floor, are you going to make sure I get millions of dollars just for the next 3 years of service for the rest of my life? You mean I can move anywhere in the world and live out my life, or wealthy, stinkily rich, just by crossing the floor? Mark Carney goes, fuck democracy. Hello, China. Oh, yeah. That's what's happening. The Canadians go, and rhetoric, and you see politicians and leaders, NDP's leader, you got conservative leader, this is wrong. You shouldn't floor cross, even though we all participated in it all the time for decades, and never once did we ever put forward a bill to stop it. Because that's our enrichment. We like to talk a big game, but when we're in power, no way. Just like, folks, how many MPs with exorbitant raises to the tune of $209,000 a year now, serving less than 70 days on average in Parliament and 63 days on average legislature. You have an extremely corrupt, devious, evil government. Can you imagine if I showed up for 1 to 2 days work in a 2-week period where I'm scheduled to work 5 days a week, just 5 8-hour days a week, and I can't be bothered to show up for an average of 2 in those 2 weeks? How long would I last in any job anywhere, folks? On a full-time job with those exorbitant rates? You wouldn't. None of us would. But yet you say that's okay. That's great for all the legislators. That's great for all the parliamentarians. Hell, they get to live in other countries for most of that time. They're gone more than 6 months a year, most of them. Go ahead, prorogue Parliament, prorogue the legislature. I'm going to go back to the States, or I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to put my kid in private school and live over there. Thanks to the money. Oh yeah, and I get an expense account that matches. That'll cover all my costs in Europe, United States, all throughout the world. Africa, for the Somalians, and on, and all these others. Oh yeah, Middle East for the others. And then there's all the thousands of appointments all over the world. I'm taking another sabbatical. I don't have to do anything because I get paid because you prorogued the legislature. I'm lieutenant governor. I'm out of here. Call me when they open up legislature. Oh yeah, it's my job. Call me. I'll fly back from Iran when it's time. I kid you not. And this is every province, especially Alberta. One of the worst. Ontario, really bad. People can say a lot about Quebec, but you don't see that so much there. You don't see that. You don't even see that in work. Go to a McDonald's, a Tim Hortons. You don't see the mass immigration equivalency of what you see in the rest of Canada. That's just detrimental to this country. And why is it again? Oh yeah, because UK told us to. Whatever UK do, we do. Our private property, same size as the island of UK. That's how we have to be. It says we have no sovereignty. It says our sovereignty is given to UK, and our parliamentarians in their democracy, our legislators in their provincial democracies, not your democracy, their democracies, must vote according for the welfare and the enrichment of the United Kingdom. And whatever they say, whether it's European countries we give it up for, whether it's other Commonwealth or any other assets or business dealings they have worldwide, you give it up, Canadians. You are less subjects than the British subjects. You are less. You are a colony country. You're an independent colony country. Such a joke. Not even legal since World War II in real binding international law. And just to hammer yesterday what I should have said, when they say customary international law, that means non-binding, means there's no authority to force it, and nobody can. Again, what does that mean? It means a country like the United States, You need to declare war against them, and then you need to defeat them. Good luck, losers. Elbows right up, fist deep to the elbow, up your ass, because that ain't going to happen. And that's the truth. God bless, folks, this morning. I know it's early. Video will pick up steam later. But it's important to smash these points home. I hope folks wake up to this stuff, because we're at critical mass, and Canada isn't looking good. Not looking good at all. People love the baloney. America's laughing at you. They're all laughing at you, toying you along, a cat with a toy, and then pow! There you go. And we'll see you year after year as they pound you down economically. Grind, until you, the Canadian people, wake up in mass majority. Canada, the 51st state. But we're going to be doing the hard way. I can clearly see extreme hard way. And all your dirty, filthy, thieving, cheating, far left to the far right and everything in between, elected and appointed. Provincial, federal, territorial. They will all run away with their secure funds overseas, and they will get away scot-free and leave you and your children, especially your children and grandchildren, holding the bag. What will happen to the retired? That's what I wonder. And those who wish to retire. Can you imagine a 3 to 5 year bankruptcy of Canada and all Canadians? Can you imagine a crash dollar? Can you imagine? Well, folks, breakfast is open. I'm going to get about my day. God bless you all. Share. Get the video out. Tons in here. I've moved up massively. Anyone follow me close? It's undeniable now. There's things I've nailed, not just nailed, but have come to fruition on the dates we submitted. We never led anyone astray. We are right at the epicenter, highest levels of U.S. government. Beautiful thing. And it makes sense why Canada is coming so hard, so fast, and coming after me, I guess. It even is amazing to me to see that. But again, it's undeniable what I showcased to all of you. That was 6 days ago. And on the day of submission, USA takes my analysis and enacts it on the Russian oil. Sanctions gone for all the floating oil. My analysis. Pretty cool, I'd say. God bless you all. We'll see you later. Bye now.